This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance. What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now. So I'm here with Nero and Bottle from Titan Motorsports. Nero is the president. Bottle is the formal head honcho at Titan. How are you guys doing?
Good, very good.
Really good.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for taking some time. It's been a couple of weeks, but we got it together.
Yep.
So, guys, I'd like to dive right in and find out about your history, who you guys are, and about your company, Titan Motorsports. So can you tell us about how that all got started and what your background is?
Well, actually, it's funny because we got started doing Toyota Supras back around 97. I got my own personal Supra. And I kind of fell into that underground street racing type, marketplace where, people were just racing Saturday nights at midnight and just kind of fell into it by total chance hanging out at a car meet. And then got basically addicted to it pretty quickly and just liked to keep going faster and faster and beating people. So I found the easiest way to do that was just to make more horsepower. My driving skills weren't the best, so that definitely helped me a lot, overcome,
right.
better drivers, in all honesty. It was the first manual car I had. I said, well, if I can't drive it, let me make more power. I could fly right by them, and it worked really well, to be honest. And so one of the things that I've always really been passionate about is making big horsepower and making it reliably. And it's from then. It's from before we even started Titan Motorsports.
Right. So in the late 90s, you had a twin-turbo 6-speed Supra?
Correct.
So that was like the car to have, right?
Yeah, it was. I got lucky. So the prices dropped, and right as they dropped, I was able to just barely get one, like a Ford one. And that's when I got it. And I was in college, and so Bottle was, I think, also in college. And so we actually had a computer business where we, bought, sold, service computers, which was very lucrative as a small business back then. So we did that, and that helped me. Basically, all the computers we ended up selling helped me fund building the Toyota Supra, which is what I really like to do in my spare time. And so I got pretty deep into that scene. And back then they had email lists. They didn't have forums, which are now forums. So I was always a part of the email list for the Supra groups, and so I was always learning about how to modify this thing and how to work on it.
Right. So what was your college education like and your family background? So take us all the way back to when you were a kid. How did you get to where you are now, and take us back?
Both of our parents are professionals. So my dad's an engineer, my mom's a doctor. So they feel that education is very important. So because of that, it's even if we didn't want to go to college, we almost had no choice. You had to go to college, at least if you were going to live at their house still.
Right.
So, but my parents have always instilled hard work ethic. My dad, works constantly. So he's 70 years old, and he's still nowhere close to retiring, and he's still working just because he likes it, not because he has to. So they've always instilled, a real strict work ethic. That was instilled, being honest, doing things right. And that was really big especially with my dad. That was really big with him.
Right.
And they definitely did not spoil us, so they said probably no more than yes.
So you had to work for what you had.
Yeah, their first generation here in the U.S., so they moved from India to the U.S., and so for them, every dollar for them they felt it was very hard to earn, and so they didn't waste it. So they weren't going to be like, oh, I want this toy that I'm going to throw away, and after playing with it 15 minutes, you can have it. They were like, no, you got your toy this month. You're done.
Yeah. Right. So what did you go to college for? What was your major, or what were you after?
I was initially going to go into accounting and ended up changing and going into management information systems, because that's right around when I was getting really big into the IT side. Mm-hmm. And so MIS was an easy fit.
Are you using that these days? Like, did that college education, for example, is that something that you built a foundation or that you work with or do anything with nowadays?
You definitely, to do this job, don't have to have a degree. You did learn a lot of things. I mean, one of the things it's kind of funny in college, you just overall start to learn is you just learn to continue to learn more and more, even when you're not in college. So that part of it, I think did help. And I think some of the principal background pieces, it definitely helped as well. Obviously we're still on the internet, and that side of it's been very good. So knowing kind of how some of that stuff was structured or built, it does help you make, I think, better decisions.
Okay.
And I got the same degree, just a couple years behind Nero. Unfortunately, it took me a little bit longer because we were growing the business at the same time.
Titan? Or the...
Yeah, Titan. Actually, Titan.
Okay.
Titan. We'll get into that, I guess.
Yeah. So tell us about that. So Titan is primarily an online retailer. Is that right?
So, yeah, we're primarily a parts distributor, both retail and wholesale. And, we specialize in, a lot of hard parts, so like more your hardcore performance parts. And there's a few different types of distributors. I mean, there's distributors that do really well that do, let's say, brakes and do clutches and exhausts and intakes, your basic stuff that anybody's going to do. And then you have somebody like us who are definitely a little bit more specialized, who really, we do a lot of rods and pistons. So we're selling to people who want to, build their own engines. They need bearings, gaskets, ARP hardware.
Right.
So that kind of thing. So we tend to be a little bit more focused there. I mean, we distribute all the categories of parts, but that tends to be our specialty.
So part of your business isn't just selling it for the cheapest price, but the value add in trying to maybe advise people of like, hey, you need this part and here's the reason why, or I'd recommend this over this. Yep. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, we try to be price competitive, of course, but a lot of what you get at Titan is, the parts are in stock. It's when you pay for it, it's going to ship. It's going to ship on time, and if you need the technical assistance, we're there before and after the sale.
Gotcha. So how has the nature of online parts sales differed over the years? So 10 years ago, how was it different doing what you do versus now?
10 years ago, you could have had a guy part-time, updating your website and adding content and so forth. Now, there's multiple facets. Part of it's very, database driven. So you got to maintain a very large database with constant changing inventory and prices because people want a lot of that information, live. In addition, you have a lot of variations in the marketing side of things with your blog, with your YouTube feed, your Facebook feed, and the more of that's, tied into your website as well makes a big difference. So, it's grown quite a bit to the point where you really need one person alone can't even do enough to keep up with it. We have multiple people here that manage that, and it's often seems like we're still shorthanded in those departments.
Right. Well, how about working nowadays versus then? Is it a 10-hour a day job, or do you work a 9 to 5?
No, I would say it's probably about anywhere from 8 to 10 hour day for us. We have really good people, And so a lot of our managers have been with us for a long time, some of them, multiple of them over 10 years. So a lot of them are able to kind of take over and run their departments, and they do a great job for us. So it does require still a lot of time, especially if you want to continue to grow and continue to develop new parts. And if you want to go to the races, obviously you got to go on the weekend. So it definitely is still, you have to work a little overtime on occasion, and then sometimes it's good, you can take off a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say when we started, for sure, it was 16-hour days.
Yeah.
Now, now being 10 or 12, that's a luxury for us. I mean, knowing from where we started at 16-hour days, it was just nonstop, and it was every day, 7 days when you started. You had to put the time in.
Yep.
That's the main thing.
We would come in the weekends in our old building, and me and Bottle would try to do the accounting, because all these sales, all this paperwork, all these invoices got built up over the week, and we would try to get it done on the weekend. And that was just part of it. It was just trying to maintain the whole business, every side of it.
Yeah. So, look, when you guys were first getting started, did it take off naturally? So you guys were still in college, and you just kind of maybe doing this on the side. Do I understand that right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And we started around November of '99. I started building the website and getting it out there that we're doing this, and so maybe December we sold one or two things, nothing special. And then, it didn't really have a full revamp. And then in the winter break, I was able to really spend some time on getting that website and everything going. And our goal was just to do it part-time. I just wanted something to, make some money to go racing, put parts on the car. And I was hoping to sell like $10,000 a month in parts. And the first month, I don't remember the exact number. It was probably like $30,000. It blew all expectations or any plans completely out of the water. So it took off pretty immediately. And I got to thank a lot of our customers off of the forums, and back then, like I said, the email list, that they were the first customers we had, and that's where they found us from those referrals.
Was it all Supra? So then it was mostly Supra.
So we initially only did Supra 93 plus, and really only focused on the twin turbo Supra, and that was our whole line. We just wanted to stay in that avenue for some time. We named it Titan Motorsports instead of something maybe Supra specific, because we wanted to be like able to get into other markets if the Supra, let's say, ends up being never coming back. We wanted to be able to say, okay, we could still continue on doing what we're doing with another car make. But we initially only were doing Toyota Supra.
And we ran this business out of our parents' house while we were still going to college.
Yeah.
So as it was starting to ramp up, it got pretty crazy. The house turned into a warehouse.
Is the Supra community as bigger, or smaller than it was 10 years ago?
It's different, for sure. I would say it's a lot bigger. Part of the reason is, I think all the communities are bigger because the internet has made the world a smaller place. Back when we started, it was an email list. Maybe you get 50 emails, total. And now you'll see 50 posts on the forums in probably 20 minutes. So it definitely has gotten bigger from that avenue. Back then there was a lot of, local meets that's how everybody was kind of getting together, similar to like what our typical Cars and Coffee is now.
Mm-hmm. How has location played a role? Like if you guys were not in Florida, would it have taken off like it did, do you think?
I think it would have. Obviously, if we were not in a major city, then it would have been more difficult because our industry is still a niche industry. But I think if we were in any kind of decent-sized city, whether it was Atlanta or Dallas or up north, I think it still would have done very well. When I started in Orlando, the market here was nothing. There was hardly any shops. Nobody you'd really refer to send business to, so it was really small. It's just over the last, I'd say, 5 or 10 years where, Florida's really become a big, big state for this high performance market.
Yeah. So how did the racing come about?
So it started initially with the Toyota Supra that I had, which was black, and I just wanted to race it. And then NHRA Sport Compact popped up around 2001, and so we built the car specifically for their drag radial class. And I knew the cars were going, I think, about 1050, 1040s, the guys who were winning all the events, and mainly they were RX-7s. And so I said, I think we can do better than that, and I know we make big horsepower with these 2JZs, so it's just a matter of, getting the car light, getting it down, getting the traction. And so the first event we went to, we set the record. And
when was this?
This was, I believe, 2001, around March or April 2001. So we got really, it was addictive, I'll be honest. And so decided to follow, more and more of the whole series. And so we had a lot of ups and downs the first few years of the race program. And a lot of people figured we'd quit at some point, or, it was just going to be too expensive. And we always just kept working on it. I mean, one of the things we did was to cover some of the costs is we, went out there and got sponsorship. And, those corporations, they want a very specific type of person, a very professional organization to represent their brand. And we were able to fortunately pick up some good sponsors early on and then continue to increase our sponsorship exposure, getting into Toyota Direct and Scion going forward into 2004, 2005.
This was back when the import thing was just popping.
Yeah, it was huge. All the manufacturers were getting in. GM was getting
all the
in.
OEMs. Yeah.
Ford. They're all fighting for those positions in the marketplace.
So let me ask you, back then, were you making money on racing, and is it possible to do the same thing now, or is it all grassroots and you'd have to make money elsewhere?
We never really wanted to make money racing because early on we learned that it's a very hard business to actually do as a business. So we said if we're going to focus on racing, we don't really have control over whether we're going to be able to, go racing because you're relying on the sponsorship, you're relying on the economy. So it's none of your money that's funding it. Literally, you lose your sponsorship, you're out of business. Where we had the parts distribution side already, which was doing well, we figured if we focused on it for our primary source of income, that then we were in control, And if we wanted to go racing with that income, we could go racing with that income. That's what we did. So the racing almost always costs money. The sponsors definitely help subsidize that cost.
Right. It seems to me the obvious answer is you couldn't attract an OEM into import drag racing nowadays. Would you agree with that?
You could, but it's going to be on a very small scale. It's not going to be on the large scale that it was 10 years ago.
So how has racing played a role in growing the brand of Titan Motorsports? And does it continue to grow the brand? So if you guys don't go racing, if you stop going racing tomorrow, are you still going to be successful 3 and 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think because we've built up a client base that if we're not racing as much or we stop racing, that they're going to stay with us at this point. So I do feel that. I think racing's changed a lot. There's not nearly as many events. The events are not necessarily as organized. There isn't the corporate backing. So sometimes you just need to support your customer there, and you're known for that. So what we've done is we don't race nearly as much as we used to with our own cars. We still have our own cars, but we end up actually providing a racing service to our clientele, and that still gets us our brand name out there and actually it's fun in a different way, and many times it can be more fun because you're seeing a customer who's never won a race, and you're helping him win that race, and to see them that joy from that customer, that's the same joy we had 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Do you charge for trackside services? Do you offer that as a paid service?
We do. We have, one guy who's been with us for a long time, almost 10 years, Eric Lazinski, who's been our crew chief the whole time. And so he's available for not only chassis setup, track setup, his specialties, transmissions and clutches as well. So he's able to, if you wanted just to ship us your transmission and get it repaired, or order parts, or go over ratios on your race car, he's able to do that, or he's able to, he can fly out anywhere all over the world and go help you set it up there and actually go to an event and race.
And is he the only one that supports that service?
He's the primary one, yeah. From there, if we were going racing with our own stuff, we bring in some of the other staff depending on availability to go to the events. But for the most part, he's the decision maker. He's got the database of everything we've done for 10 years.
How big is the team? How big is your guys' team, your whole Titan Motorsports crew?
I think we're about 35 people currently.
So why did you guys get into tuning as a service?
So our mechanic side, where we work on cars, so our business obviously has a lot of different divisions. So a lot of people early on thought we only raced for a living, and then some people thought we, basically built customer cars and raced for a living, and they didn't realize that our primary, job is distribution, and all these other things are kind of offshoots of that, and some of them are literally just for fun. The tuning side, where we work on cars, initially we started that because people just kept bringing us their Toyota Supras, wanting us to work on them, knew that we knew the platform really well. And there was nobody else I could refer that business to. There's nobody close by that we could refer it to, and these guys wanted to buy a large amount of parts from us. But obviously they're going to buy them from the person who's going to install them, because they're going to get from that specialist all in one place, because they're responsible for the finished product. So we started that literally on the side, on top of the distribution, just to service that clientele, and it started growing like crazy, and we couldn't even really maintain it in our old building because we were limited on space, and a lot of times our shop would end up having pallets of product in it, and so they couldn't even push cars in to work on. So it's grown over the years, and now it's at this point it's got fabrication where we make our own products, things like our roll bars and our diff braces and so forth. Our installation side goes from mild to wild. We'll install a cat back, or we'll do, a huge engine build and project. And
do you do it to support the product, or do you find that it's a profitable center of the business on its own?
For a while it seemed like it wasn't profitable at all, and it was just, costing money, but it was a lot of times it's because we were working on our own personal stuff or shop projects. But it has become profitable now that we've probably focused on it and really honed it in.
Which portion of it's profitable, the custom service or the product manufacturing?
Both, actually. Each one is kind of their own mini division within that overall division, so both do well. Obviously, the product side, there's a lot of variations. Sometimes you'll sell a bunch of, let's say our Titan Motorsports oil pump, and then suddenly you don't. So we build a lot of the products for inventory, so that we can always, if you need a Titan part, it's almost always available in stock, or it's already in the queue to be built, and it's a very short lead time. So it's really hard to predict what's going to sell. That changes all the time. So we just build and try to maintain a certain amount of inventory, and as it sells, we just replace it.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like the key strength at Titan is knowing that I'm going to be able to call you, order a part, and there's a really high likelihood that it's ready to rock and roll.
Yes, that is a goal, or we should have a pretty good ETA. And I mean, if where we really one of our strengths is, people who need a very technical part in a hurry are able to call us, and we're able to a lot of times, sort it out or come up with a solution. Where I think a lot of our competitors, if you say, hey, I don't have this piston in stock, they don't have the ability to say, well, why don't we see if this manufacturer has that same part that will work for you and get you up on the road.
So I want to kind of step back and talk about some negative aspects and how you guys were able to overcome that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is like self-doubt. Do you guys ever doubt yourselves? Did you at the beginning, and have you since? And think, what if this doesn't work? And then how do you overcome that feeling and move forward?
I would say probably all the time, and I'd even say that sometimes me and Bottle argue about the approach that we're going to take. It's always constructive, but it's one of those things that if you're going to do well, you got to be passionate about it, and so you want to be passionate and try to make the right decisions, not the wrong decisions. I can tell you when we started, we never thought we would even do this full time. We figured it'd be just part time in the evenings, sell some parts, ship some parts, and go. And by the time I graduated in May of 2000, I decided I was still going to get a job. It was doing well, but I figured I'd go get a real job. It's only going to last for so long. And instead I said, let's take off summer. Let me just focus on this business. I'm having fun, making enough money. And then in the fall, I'll get a real job and then get into that. And literally in June, July, sales skyrocketed. It was like, I can't even manage it. And so that's when Bottle came in and started helping.
Huh.
I wouldn't say helping. I would say take over, but okay.
So, guys, tell us about the worst experience. And I want you to dig deep and really tell us about something that is uncomfortable to talk about. Has there been a point in the business that had you flat on the floor ready to quit or second-guessing yourself? One particular event.
I can't think of anything that's just totally, devastating. I can tell you some of the most difficult things that we dealt with was actually moving into our new facility. Between all the dealing with the banks and getting this facility built as the recession came in, and then sales dropping because the recession came in, and then worrying that, the Supra is old and are you going to still be able to pay the bills? And then trying to build this facility into what it's turned into today. The stress was pretty enormous for sure. And it's funny because let's say 2008, we were, if you were to say working 10, 12 hours, come 2009, 2010, you're putting in still 15, 16 hours. You can't work enough. And it's, mentally taxing when you're basically spending money to build the facility, but then you feel like you're not making enough money to pay those bills. So it's a constant outflow, and obviously it wears on you for a little while. Right. So I'd say that's probably one of the hardest things.
Nero, or you agree with that, Bottle?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with it. There's some times where I doubt myself, and it's the places when it's like, okay, well, we got this deal. It's a big outlay on capital. How quick are we going to be able to sell that? We bought so much. Is it going to work? And usually those things have worked out for us. There's been a few times where it's bit us in the butt, or we've had to sit on inventory longer than we thought.
Yep. I can remember one specific incident, actually. Innovate, we were their biggest dealer, and so we bought their LM1s, and they were phasing them out and coming out, replacing them with LM2s. And LM1s were very popular. People just had liked that install and knew the product really well. So we bought all the LM1s that Innovate had, and we went and they sold so fast. It was unbelievable. So then we said, okay, let's buy another batch. We convinced them to use their remaining inventory and parts and make another batch. That batch sat there. It took 2 years plus to get rid of that second batch. So sometimes a home run is just a home run one time.
So let me ask you, in regards to inventory terms, can you guys get specific and talk about, do you guys target a certain number of inventory turns in a year?
Well, we do try to continue to optimize it, but if you get too deep into just trying to turn one number over and over again more and more, I feel you lose a little bit of customer service for your clients, especially your long-term good clients, because give you an idea, like let's say a Supra suspension kit, you may sell one every 2 or 3 months. It's something that everybody wants and uses, but you don't sell it that often. Well, if you don't have it, then you're not really doing a good job for your customer. Does it make financial sense to turn an item every 90 days? Not as well as if something else you turn in every 15 days or 30 days, but it does make sense to take care of your customer, and we believe in that greatly.
So you'd stock the suspension kit because you're supposed to be the guy that has everything in stock, and maybe it drives other sales, and it's just about you're just trying to take care of the customer. So
if you got a loyal client, we started with that small Toyota Supra client base, that niche client base, So if they're obviously ordering parts for their Toyota Supra, if you have everything, they're not going to call anybody else. They're going to be like, you know what, Titan always takes care of me. They always ship. They know all the technical information. They know this car. There's no reason for them to go in it somewhere else. But if I tell them, hey, it's going to be 4 weeks to order that suspension, they may go check and see if somebody else has it. And if somebody else has it, we lose that really good long-term loyal client.
Right.
And so obviously we don't want to do that. We want to be able to take care of them, and they take care of us.
So that brings up a really good point as far as online retailers. And you said you're an online parts distributor, meaning I would imagine a large portion of the overall business is wholesale. But when you're selling just to retail, when there's so many other online retailers now, how do you stand out?
All the online retailers are different. So one of the things we stand out with is obviously we pick up the phone, we provide good information, good customer service, we email you back. A lot of our systems are automated. Once you've placed the order, you have your tracking number automatically sent to you. You have your invoice sent to you. So all those things work well at Titan Motorsports. All those things we feel don't work well sometimes with some of these distributors who, especially if they don't stock anything and they just drop ship all the time, sometimes you run into issues.
Yeah, with today, the customer wants a tracking number pretty much as soon as they hang up the phone. Is what it seems like. It's what I would call like an Amazon effect. They've had that ability to be able to transform a marketplace, and with now you're having some competitors catch up on IT infrastructure to be able to automate everything. So that's where you have to catch up. Unfortunately, I feel we're a little bit behind, the gun on a couple of things on implementing, but we're going to catch up and hopefully succeed, exceed expectations. It's kind of like racing. Sometimes you get beat up, but this gives you that motivation to keep going. Those competitors, to kick their ass.
For sure. So you guys try to compete then on making a better process. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if everybody's selling the same thing for the same price and everybody's trying to undercut each other, is it a race to zero?
You would think so, but since our marketplace is still pretty niche, it's not, if you're going to try to race to zero, you're going to go out of business. So there's a lot of people who obviously don't want to go out of business. So the people who are able to build good systems, offer a good support, are usually the smarter, better guys in the group, and everybody has their favorite vendor, so it's the same thing. Those smart guys, they're not doing this so they can, put themselves in debt and then bankrupt. They're doing it so they can make money, and they know that, hey, I'm adding a value add here, and so it's worth paying, $5 more for that part. If you're going to have it tomorrow and it's going to ship to you today, then ordering it from somebody else, and it may taking a month, and then that company may even just close their doors because it was just an online website.
Yeah. If you get a tracking number right away, that definitely gives confidence to your customer, and
yeah.
So you guys are surviving and thriving on good systems.
Yes,
good systems and good sales staff.
Yeah,
good.
I'd say all of our staff is really good. I mean, there isn't hardly any weak points. I mean, there's always some room for improvement, but our staff is very top notch, and they know that we want to take care of the customer the best we can, and so that's been instilled in our culture.
Yeah, you have killer managers and killer staff. Are they responsible for building the culture, or does that come from the top down?
I'd say it comes a bit from the top down because some of the culture changes based on some of the new employees. And so you can't really let them change the vibe in your organization in something that's already working for you and working really well for you. So I feel that a lot of it is top down. And so the people who have been here the longest obviously kind of set the mood for the organization.
Yeah. How do you guys find good people since you have such an awesome staff, or do you find them and train them?
Some of the best people you find and you train. Some of the guys who have a lot of preconceived notions, they tend to suffer here because we don't operate the same as everybody else. We have our own systems. We have our own, vibe that I feel is a lot different than a lot of our competitors. And so I think if you came from a competitor, often you can do really well because you know the industry, you know what you're getting into, you know the type of clientele. But then at the same time, those same people often ask, why does this done differently here? And there's a reason for it. It may have been developed 10 years ago. There's a reason that we do things differently here. But they can't get their hands around it, and that's where, they don't thrive. Where somebody new, that's the system they're learning for the first time, and they love it.
Right.
And they're having fun at it.
Right. Do you go so far as to have a written employee handbook? Do you have things like that?
Yes, you kind of have to in today's day and age where there's so many various benefits, so many various policies, so much liability with employment. You have to. So our handbook is actually pretty detailed and it's pretty thick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When you have to get like your workers' comp, because we have a shop, we have the warehouse, we have just the sales guys and accounting staff. Everyone's classified differently. And when you have all that, they want to see some sort of manual as well as the new people, and there needs to be some sort of organization.
Yep. And I mean, the smallest things are the ones that bring up the biggest drama and problems. And so I feel the handbook does answer a lot of those questions. And it's a manual even for the managers to go back and say, this is what we do because that's what the handbook says. I mean, give you an example. We were discussing earlier this week what days off do we have for July 4th weekend, which July 4th lays on a Saturday. So do we have 3rd off? Is it like, do we go, to Monday? Do we let people do kind of what they want? And we had a lot of different opinions. And then we just said, we looked back at the handbook and it was like, boom, right there. We're taking it, everybody's got the 3rd off and that's basically it.
So in the handbook, it'll call out and say, hey, on July 4th, if it happens to fall on a weekend, you get the day before it off too?
I don't know the exact wording, but I think it says that you have paid, we have certain amount of days that are paid off. And so that is obviously one of the days that's paid off. And if it's obviously falls on a weekend, then you still get that day as paid. And then, we do the Friday or the following Monday, depending on the days.
I was thinking it was a little gray because I love coming into work. So I was just like, let's just come into work and let's get shit done.
Yeah.
But, you gotta let people go home for family time. That's as well.
Yep.
Right. So how do you keep people motivated and also, from getting burned out? So, you like to come into work, so you'd have a tendency to be like, hey, guys, we're just going to come to work and get some shit done. But do you have to worry about burnout? Because employees probably aren't as fired up about Titan quite as much as you are.
We get both groups. We get some people who want to work all the time. If we're coming in, they just really enjoy it, and so they're totally down for working overtime. And some of them, are driven because they want, that extra financial incentive. We have others who value their personal time over anything else, and I can respect that too. And so they'll take, all the time off that's possible or that they're allotted. So we get both. And I mean, and there's room for people on both ends of the spectrum here, because we do value your personal time. So if you fall into one spectrum, we're willing to throw more work at you. If you want to take the time off, we're good with that too, as long as you do a good job when you come here and you actually are working.
Right. What formal, if any, business training or management or human resources training do you guys have? Is it all figured out along the way?
So it definitely we don't have any formal training in that regard. The most of it we have figured out along the way, and some of our old employees would definitely attest to that we didn't have the systems we have now.
Trial by fire.
So that has been it. I mean, when we have the opportunity to pick somebody's brain on specific topics, we definitely like to ask those questions, because it even if we don't want to go that path, it at least educates us on another choice, another avenue.
Do you have a mentor or mentors, people that you consistently ask for information?
I don't think so. Not at this current time. I would say we've probably had friends that we would consistently ask maybe a long time ago, but I mean now, or mentor maybe Google, you can just look it up online. Why bother your best friend when you can just look it up online?
Fair enough.
I mean, I sit there, go home, and when I'm in bed, I'm sitting there doing research nonstop. So, like on finding new ways to save money or different things that I wouldn't do at the office, because when you're at the office, you're answering the phones, dealing with vendors, negotiations, stuff like that. So I highly recommend in your off time, when you just don't have the TV on all the time or whatever, and just be on your iPad or something and just be looking at ways to improve the business. Either it may be books, magazines, or just other news articles about other businesses and other industries. It always helps you look at another way of looking at a different approach.
Do you have a particular resource that you're thinking of?
I mean, there's just so many things I just go and look at. I mean,
Do you have a magazine that you subscribe to, or books that you've read that have been helpful?
I mean, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read that 12 years ago. I still think back to that a lot. I mean, I haven't read it recently, but mainly it's just magazines or online magazines. I don't have any particular one. I just go to Yahoo Finance, CNBC, all these places, and you can kind of pick and choose different businesses. Go look at Apple. Go look at their margins. Go look at how are they doing things.
Yeah.
How can I use some of their procedures or something that they have? When you look at logistics, you can look at anyone. If you're looking at shipping, who do I look at? You don't have to look at necessarily automotive people. Look outside the box, and look at what is Amazon doing, what's IBM doing, what's Apple doing, what are these Fortune 100 companies, doing that's different than what we're doing. And how can we use that in what we're doing?
Right. What's the best practice, and what's keeping us from doing that?
Some of the best things that we've probably learned is from visiting vendors, visiting customers, even customers, their businesses. Some of them, if we're traveling, they want to take us through their operations, and they show us exactly what they do, because a lot of these people are passionate. So we all share that common passion for entrepreneurship, and so we compare notes, and it's amazing that you go and see how somebody else does something different. You're like, I didn't even know that existed, or that tool existed, or whatever. And you're like, you go back to the office and order it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Nero, Bottle, both of you individually, what's your Achilles heel?
I'm stubborn.
What are you not good at?
I'm stubborn, and I think I'm good at everything. That is part of my problem.
My Achilles heel is Nero.
Yeah.
All right.
I make the money, he spends it.
Yeah, I like to just buy stuff.
Sounds like a symbiotic relationship. Sounds pretty good.
It kills me every day. Every single day.
As long as you're Nero, it sounds like a good deal.
I'm telling you, I love my gig. I love it.
All right, so what's the big, hairy, audacious goal for Titan Motorsports?
You know, we want to grow, you know, definitely organically with our current client base. Continue to get in that, you know, our sport compact marketplace and do better and better. Increase revenue. We, you know, want to continue to improve systems and processes here so that things just run smoother and smoother and don't need, you know, some of the babysitting and don't run into the issues. So those are probably some of our biggest goals, and it's been constant for the last 3 years. That's really all we focused on. And it's
Systems.
It's amazing because I thought everybody just would do what they're supposed to do, but when we started hiring people, and it doesn't work that way. So yeah, developing systems and putting people in the right places, it has been pretty, you know, crucial for us.
And challenging.
Yeah, very challenging.
Implementing software can be very difficult when you want it to do a certain thing, and you're like, well, it doesn't do it like that, and then you have to go and custom code things and figure out ways to make it work.
Yeah. Why doesn't anything work like you want it to? Right out of the box, you know?
I mean, I don't even know why you can't just, you know, click the button, install it, and it works. But you know, that doesn't really happen.
Such is life.
Yeah. Usually,
but
you end up formatting your whole computer when you click that button.
But you don't have a clearly defined, written out on a piece of paper, 5-year goal.
Nope.
I want to earn this amount of money. I want to work this number of hours. I want my business to look like this.
No, because, you know, part of what makes us good at Titan and what, you know, we really like about it is we just want to have fun. So I would rather maybe have a little more fun, you know, and give up, you know, dealing with XYZ customer who's just overly demanding than make those extra few dollars. So there is, I feel, a limit. You know, and that's part of our culture. I want all of our employees to have fun. And so if you grind them to the point where you wear them out, then you're just going to have to replace them with another employee and train them and do the whole thing. And you're never going to have a loyal group. So at some point, you're going to show up to work and there's going to be 10 people who are going to leave.
Right.
You know?
Our goal is always to just kick ass.
Yeah.
I mean, we never really have to have the good thing is we've never really had to have a formal business plan. We grew it from the ground up. So we didn't have to go out for investors or anything. We never cared for that. Our deal is find the customer, provide them with a good service, and everything else will follow. Also, when you have one of those goals, it kind of when you have those plans, it kind of sets you, okay, we have to reach this goal by this amount of dates. If you set your right goals, like in right infrastructure and providing the customer with a good base, those goals will all come in place. You don't have to worry about, you know, a tunnel vision is what I would say on some of the things.
Okay. Can you suggest one action item to our listeners that they can do this week to improve their situation?
Try to resolve your problems immediately. You know, whether it's you got an email and the customer's unhappy or whatever, you know, just knock that out instead of putting it off. And you will find your day ends up being less stressful and you're more efficient and you actually end up with customers who want to come back instead of you avoiding them and they never want to come back.
So confront the brutal truth.
Confront the brutal truth. I try to tell the guys here, if it's not here and it can't ship, it can't happen. Like, if we can get it done and we can take the part to the airport and ship it, then we're going to do it. But you got to just tell the customer up front. You don't want him to, you don't want to tell him, yeah, the part's on its way. He expects it there tomorrow for a race, and it just doesn't show up. He's never going to come back. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Set realistic expectations with the customer, and they'll respect you more than if you were to lie to them. And it seems like in this industry that happens. This guy said he was going to deliver me my products by then. I'm like, look, it's on back order from the manufacturer. They don't have any on order. We've got them on order for like 6 months. Some of this stuff takes to make, or manufacturers just sometimes don't care to produce it enough. And you just set realistic expectations, and they'll be happier in that case than when you told them, oh, yeah, it's going to ship next week.
Right.
When it's actually 3 months from now.
It's funny because it seems so obvious when you're talking about it, but in the heat of the moment, when you want to, that customer's like, you can ship it today, right? You want nothing more than to be like, yeah, I'll do it. But, I mean, if you can't do it, you can't do it. You got to have the balls, I guess, just to shoot them straight, yeah?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I mean, you tell a guy, let's just say a guy wants to come and say his car's being worked on here, and he plans on picking it up today, and it's not going to be done anywhere close to today for whatever reason. We're waiting on a part, whatever happened. And customers just think, hey, that's an hour job, and it really is 3-day job, You just got to tell them, go, hey, man, it's not going to be done today, and it's probably not going to be done tomorrow. So do not rush down here. Do not get a ride from your girlfriend. Don't pull any favors to get here if it's not going to be done. I mean, if you want to come and look at it, sure, but you're not going to drive it home. And if you tell them, they respect it, and they actually back off, because they can plan their day accordingly.
Right. As opposed to, well, maybe it will. We'll give it a shot, and you lead them on, and they show up, and the next thing you know, they're mad at you because they did have to get a ride and maybe skip out of work early or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing because, people will take the day off or half a day to come and, obviously pick up their car, and it's an experience. And last thing you want to do is that guy goes, man, I only had so many days off, and I took it here, and I just wasted my whole day. So let them go to work if they want to go to work, and let them take off when everything's like it's supposed to be. And same thing with shipping. Same thing with like our customers who have us go racing for them or buy racing parts. Is we're up front with what we use, what we do, and that's what we sell them. And so they come back because they know that they're getting the real deal.
Yeah. So guys, I've made it all the way down to quick answer questions. I'm going to fire these things off at you and just fire them right back. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Yep.
So how about a game-changing product that you've seen in the last year?
I would have to say it's all with fuel delivery, fuel pumps and injectors. In the last 1 to 2 years, it seemed like the evolution keeps going higher liter per hour, and you're getting good quality pumps, fuel pumps that are coming out. You're seeing a good progression going higher, as well as you can see future technologies coming into our realm of aftermarket performance of being able to make 2,000 horsepower on a street car. How the hell would you be able to do that 15 years ago? We just never thought it possible. I mean, we're making 2,700 or 2,800 horsepower out of a 2J. And in factory block and head. Never thought ever that would happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. I would say a lot of the fuel delivery, a lot of the injectors that have come out in the last year or two have really made tuning and the car's drivability so much better. Obviously we have direct injected motors now in manufacturers are making your Ford and Porsche, and so those avenues are starting to add a lot of efficiency to engines, and I think you'll see a lot of that's going to carry down into the aftermarket going forward. I would also say some of the big stuff has been in turbochargers. They're so much more efficient than they used to be, So you can remember a 76 millimeter would be, what you wanted to make 900 or 800 horsepower with, and it was pretty laggy. And now a 76 millimeter will make 1200 plus horsepower. So they're so much more efficient. They spool up so much quicker. And a lot of it, they're designed for a marketplace, but the people who are developing these things, these engineers, I mean, they're focusing on the aerodynamics. That's all cutting edge technology. And so it's all being developed specifically for a marketplace, where before it was just developed for the OE marketplace. So you would just take a turbo off of a tractor and put it on your Toyota Supra. Well, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yep. How about a software program that you're using daily? Can you tell us about a resource?
I use Outlook.
I use Outlook. I was going to say I use Outlook constantly. I'm using Outlook as we're talking on the phone. So I would definitely say that that's probably one of the big things that our organization uses, and it's worked well for us.
There's definitely different software programs we want to get in place. Some stuff that we're working on for, I would say, 6 months to 12 months down the road. Some, CRM stuff, be able to help with some more customer service. There's always things that you're looking at to integrate, and those all integrate within Outlook.
Okay.
So for emailing and calendars and reminders and all that stuff.
Right. This just goes back to systems.
Yep.
But it's pretty basic, at first. So anybody can use it, anybody can learn it, and then you can grow into utilizing all of what the capabilities are with it.
All of its features and whatever. Yeah, for sure. How about a favorite app, guys? Are you mobile? Is there anything that blow my mind? What are you using that maybe we don't know about? What do you got? Don't say Dunkin' Donuts.
I know Bottle loves Waze. I don't know why, but some of our clients just absolutely love WhatsApp, and they almost want to commit to do all their business on WhatsApp. So I'd say those are two pretty big ones. I mean, we probably both use our email program the most on our phone and text, but
yeah. Are you responding to email 24/7? Are you, when you get home, when you go out to dinner or whatever, are you on your phone?
We try not to, at the dinner table, use the phone. I think both of our wives, that's one of their pet peeves. With that said, I've got some sort of mobile device with me on my way home. When I get home, I check it. When if I need to get really heavy, I can answer a lot of questions remote from my PC. So I'm constantly answering questions. It's kind of like an addiction. We try to say we're going to get back to the customer or to whoever within 24 hours, and I'm sure that for a majority of the inquiries, it's done much quicker than that.
Yeah, my goal on email, I always say it's 15 minutes to try. If I'm at my desk, I try to respond within 15 minutes to someone's email. If I'm there. That way, when I try to leave the office, it's as close to zero in my inbox as possible. Does it always happen that way? No, because some deals take a little bit longer, some don't. But at least that way, I can leave the office and feel pretty good that when I come back and look at it in a couple of hours after my wife has let me look at my mobile device, then I'll definitely go towards that, and answer what I can at night.
Yep.
Sure, but it doesn't drive you crazy. You're still loving it.
No, I mean I think both of us can turn it off, whenever we want, and it's fine. I mean, we're not sitting there answering the phone in the movie theater or looking at the phone. Then it's just we're passionate about getting back to people. We really enjoy it because a lot of our customers are our friends, so it doesn't seem like work. But if we have something that we have to do, we just put the phone in our pocket and it goes away. We're able to turn it on and off pretty easily.
Well done. How about a favorite shop tool?
Favorite shop tool?
Doesn't have to be a shop tool even. Just Favorite piece of hardware? How about that?
I try and not go in the shop. I break things. You don't want me working on a car.
Yeah. I mean, the core of it is just honestly having a lift is awesome. It just makes it easy to be able to work on it. Outside of that, everything's kind of, associated with working on the cars, and none of them are nearly as cool.
Okay. So nothing that's standing out. No problem.
I would say there's, like, in our shop, nothing stands out really too much as a cool tool right now. On our fabrication side, I would say it's all about software and the knowledge. It's more about the knowledge of the person or the fabricator that's building something. So when we're designing, like, let's say a roll cage or for a car, or even the E-Canoe Supra that we built in our shop here, it was all about the person and his knowledge base of what he's built prior, what works, what's too stiff on the chassis, what's too soft on the chassis, where can we lighten things up, and it all comes from experience. It's really the people you have.
Yep.
Right.
That would be the best tool I would say we have in the shop.
People.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that.
So, guys, what do you think about the future of automotive performance and the future of the industry? Are Supras going to stay relevant forever?
I'm hoping that they come out with one in a year or two. I think it will be really big for our business and our industry. So, yeah, I think, I would have said 5 or 7 years ago, I'm not sure where the Supra thing's going, but, I mean, it's become a cult car, and a lot of the stuff that we sell actually just happens to be for the 2JZ engine. They're not even in Supras. They're putting them in S2000s, 240SXs, and the list goes on. So I think the 2JZ will be around for a long time. I think the Supra, it's a favorite with a lot of people, that now are going into professional jobs and starting to make good income and have always wanted that car, and now they can afford it.
Yep. Yeah, it's the '69 Camaro. Right?
Yep. I think the exact same thing.
Well, we made it. Really want to say thank you for taking some time, kind of giving us the background of how you got to where you are, what your mindset is, and now how do we connect with you and your company?
Our website's TitanMotorsports.com. All of our various emails are on there, so including mine and Bottles. So, you can easily reach out to us there.
Cool. Well, guys, once again,
cool.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds
Thanks.
Good. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app, tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests. Thanks for listening, and good luck.